Hello Flosstube, it is Friday the 13th of May 2022. It is currently 8:30 in the evening here in Northern Ireland and I am very glad that it is Friday night. It's been the end of a long week, but all is good and I am here with the Flosstube episode number 26 and this is Sew Me Sarah, my channel all about cross stitch and other stitching as and when takes my fancy. Thank you so much to returning viewers and subscribers for coming back to share some time with me. And if you are new here, you're very welcome. And I hope that you enjoy what you watched, that you will hit the subscribe button and come back for some more another day. Since last time, there hasn't been a lot of family news to update you on, so I'm not going to linger there at the moment. I wanted to say thank you for all of your comments on the last video with regards to the possibility of me doing a little segment at some stage on the monochromatic pattern suggestions. So you might remember that I asked last time if you would be interested in me sharing sort of compiling the list of suggestions that were made on the video where I was showing you the funfair fabric and looking at some options for what I might stitch on that. And I said I would compile a little video of the suggestions so that if any of you have some fabric that you're not quite sure what you want to stitch on, it might help give you some ideas. So I am going to do that, not today, but I am going to pull that together over the next few videos. I would like to have it for the next time. But we'll just see how that works out. But I will do it and we can have a look at those suggestions and I'll put the pictures of them into the screen here. So thank you for all of those comments and thank you for your interest in that. We'll get that done soon. It is my first Flossiversary tomorrow and I really can't believe that I've made a whole year of Flosstube videos. This time last year, I would never really have expected things to be where they are today. I don't know what I expected, but certainly it wasn't this lovely and this much success. So I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for your support, whether you've been with me all year or have only just recently discovered me. I want to thank you for the time that you give to watching my channel, the time that you give to answering my questions or to just posting a comment, for your support and your encouragement and your engagement. You are what make this so much more than just me sitting talking to my iPad in my kitchen and I thank you for that. Thank you for saving me from that insanity. So yes, I have really enjoyed the shared experience of our journey together and it has been a journey together. I know that the virtual world can seem a bit odd at times, but you can make real connections through it and I certainly have here and that is thanks to you. So I'm looking forward to many more episodes together with you and I hope that you will stick around and stay with me as I continue my journey. Of course, I will have a little Flossiversary giveaway at the end of the video, so hang on till then and see what might be on offer. Let's talk about the stitching since that's what we're all here for. I have two FFOs to share today in person and one set of FFOs that have been pre-recorded and that will become more clear in a moment. So first up, I have finished the October month of the La Finestra del Tempo style. These are patterns by Crochet A Go-Go. She has an Etsy shop and the patterns for the full year of La Finestra del Tempo are published in thirds of the year. So you get January to April, May to August and September to December. So it's 3 different patterns for the whole year. Worth every penny of the pattern. You can see how much detail is in this single month and all of the months are like this. They all have a house, an animal, and lovely cute embellishments to go with it. So you might notice, if you know anything about the patterns, that I have made some adjustments to this pattern. I've stitched all of the other patterns exactly as they are, but this one I wanted to change because I don't really stitch Halloween. So in Marilla's original, the owl has a witch's hat on, and instead of the moon up here at the corner, there is a spider web and a little spider dangling from. So I didn't want to include those on my stitching, lovely as they are, but just because they make it quite Halloweeny, I wanted to take those out. So I wanted to make a few changes, but not too much, because I wasn't confident in my ability to do very much, and also because I wanted to retain the essence of Marilla's design and not mess with it too much. So all I did was I raised the owl up 2 stitches, and that left a little gap here, which I filled in with another leaf, same as these. My little swirl on the leaf isn't as effective as those originally designed by Marilla, but I'm just leaving it as it is there. And you can see that up in the corner then, I replaced the spider's web with a crescent moon. Possibly should have made my moon a little bit darker just so that it contrasted with the yellows in the pears better. It actually does look better in real life than it does here on the screen. But I am really thrilled with it. I'm happy that it didn't take too much designing or thinking on my part to be able to make these adjustments and make October just the way I wanted it. So I'm thrilled to have another month under my belt, and looking forward now to tackling November and then December and having a full year to go. I have to say that we are really enjoying these at home, and since I last recorded, obviously the month changed from April to May, and Charlotte has really got the hang of this and she knows then that I tell her that the day, you know, it's not April anymore, it's now May, and she says, we need to change it, Mummy. And she goes and chooses the new month for the display on the easel. So this is exactly what I wanted, was something that helps her visualize changing time and months, and this has been a perfect way to do it, apart from the fact that I have absolutely loved every design anyway, and they've been a joy to stitch. So thank you for the wonderful, wonderful patterns, Marilla, if you do happen to be watching. So that is my first fully finished object. My second is one that I just had shown you as a start last time, and really I got too excited to put it and enjoyed it, and I finished it. This is Home Stitch Home. The pattern is by Tiny Modernist, and it is a freebie. It's available on the Tiny Modernist website, and it is also available on the Fat Quarter Shop website as a freebie, so you will find it there. I chose my own colours, although they are very similar to those represented here on the actual digital representation of the pattern, but I didn't use those actual colours. I just used from my stash what approximated, and then I mounted it on this little picture frame that I ordered from Amazon. I completely copied Shan of Craft of Knitting Creations, who had used this as well. So I found it on Amazon. At the moment, the link that I have for it on Amazon, because someone asked me on Instagram for it, shows it to be currently unavailable, but I know that it was also available on eBay. So just if you are interested, a good Google search or a good eBay or Amazon search might throw it up. So it was about, it certainly wasn't more than £10. So so that might give you an indicator if you're having a look to see if it's roughly the same thing. So underneath here is the obviously where you would have your photograph if you were keeping it, but I have just glued this on it, put it onto some, I laced it onto some mount board and then just glued it on. I'm so happy with this, and I'm thrilled that now I've shown it to you, I can go and put it in my living room and see it every day. So I'm very happy with my two finishes that I have to show you here in person. I also finished the little pin cushion gifts that I was stitching, the ones with the cherry monogram and the one that said "It's You I Like." And those have now been gifted, so I haven't got them here to show you, but I did remember before I sent them out of the house to take a video, and I will insert that now so that you can see those in all their glory. Hello everyone. I'm just taking a quick little video today of some finishes. These are the cherry monogram pin cushions that I've stitched as gifts, and I'm going to record them today and then insert them into a future video just because I need to get them off to their recipients very soon. But I wanted to show you before I send them off because I'm so delighted with how they've turned out. As I said on a previous post, these are designs from a chart called the Cherry Monogram Alphabet by Fox and Rabbit Designs. And I finished them up into tiny little pin cushions in a style similar to that shown on the picture on the front of the pattern. There was lace and some buttons added. I just added one button in each case, but I'm really pleased with how the finishes worked, and I'll let you see these a little bit closer. So I have a T and a J and an S. Sorry, I had to look because back to front in the camera, the T and the J are hard to tell apart. So I have a T, a J and an S. And as you can see, I just finished them up on the linen with little scraps of lace and mother of pearl buttons. And these two, the two outer ones, have ribbon, which is a luster ribbon. Let me show you, luster ribbon. And that's a beautiful salmon-y colour. And this one is gold. And these ribbons I just picked up, I think they were like 69p for 2 meters, and I picked them up in the range here in the UK. So sorry for the wobbliness. Just trying to get you a good view of these little pin cushions. So once I had finished the stitching, I cut the stitch pieces down to size, leaving 3/4 of an inch either side and extra on the bottom. I added and stitched down the ribbon or the lace trim. I then sewed the little pillows up, leaving a gap in the bottom, which then I close with a ladder stitch. And I used this beautiful fabric on the back of them all, so they're all the same. And this fabric just worked really well with the colours of the stitching, I thought. Stitched them up, filled them with some polyfill, and then closed the turning opening in the bottom of them, and then hand sewed the button on to the centre of the ribbon or the lace. So I'm thrilled with these little finishes, and I hope that they will be well received by those that I'm gifting them to this week. The other little pin pillow finish that I have is this "It's You I Like" pillow. The wording is charted by Michelle Bendy for It Is Diana at It Is Kismet Stitches on Instagram, and I think I just got it from the Instagram page. And stitched it up. I added a little stitchy border to it, And then I finished it up into a pillow, and I used this lovely Sweetwater numerical fabric on the back in navy. Looks a bit charcoal there, but it is navy. This thread is Gentle Arts Midnight. And then I added some beads just to finish it off and make it look a little bit extra special. So this is one I also want to get off this week, and but I wanted to be sure that I could show it to you before I do. So that's it for my finishes for this last couple of weeks. I will now show you some whips. There's not huge progress on the whips. I have been rather time challenged the last week or so, and I did spend a lot of the early part of this fortnight finishing the bunting for school, and there will be a little bit more chat about bunting later. So first up on my whips is this stitch along, which is the Heartfelt stitch along, and this is a current sale by the Fat Quarter Shop. Last Friday, Friday the 6th, last Friday part 4 was released, and that's this column. You can see I'm not even halfway, but I got a little bit stitched. It is a nice stitch. I've said before that this is a nice sale in terms of the amount that you stitch, and it is a monthly sale, so you have a whole month to stitch a column. The first part was all of the borders, so that was part 1, 2, 3, and this one is 4. So there's only another 2 parts to go, and then this will be finished. This is the Fat Quarter Shop's annual charity stitch. Sorry, let me show you properly. This is their annual charity stitch. It looks like this. They've called it Heartfelt. There is also a quilt along to raise money as well for their charity drive for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which helps children who are facing long-term and terminal illnesses to have a little bit of fun and to meet their wishes. So I have enjoyed stitching that one and hope to get back to it maybe later this week and finish it off so that I'm ready for next month's release. I managed to stitch a little bit on the Gentle Rain this week, just a little bit. If you would like to stitch the Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower, here we go. You can join the SAL, Gentle Rain 2022 SAL, or SAL, I'll put the hashtag down below because I've forgotten it momentarily. I think it's Gentle Rain SAL 2022. Yes, it's by the Blue Flower, and Joanita from Stitchy Things and I are stitching this together in no particular hurry. And we have been joined by a few others on Instagram. So it has been really lovely to see other people's progress. Sarah is making great progress as she is stitching this one as part of her mania and has dedicated a little bit more focus to it this month, so she's making lovely progress. And it's inspiring to see. That is the nice thing about the stitch along, is that when other people are stitching it along with you and you can see their progress on Instagram, that inspires you to want to get to that stage, or yes, you know, move on to the next bit or get a finish just like them. So that's what the stitch alongs are all about, inspiration and motivation. And it's a lot of fun in any case. So I am stitching this on a 32 count Murano even weave by Swagart. I dyed it myself. It was originally white and I dyed it with Dylon Peony Pink. I'm stitching using most of the called for colours. I have changed the very pale yellow colour here. It is not crushed pineapple as the pattern required, and this is not frosted sage, which the pattern required. So I, in both cases, changed to DMC, and as you can see, this one is a DMC variegated. It's 4020, and I'm very happy with how that is turning out. So I really didn't do a lot this week, but well, it certainly doesn't look like a lot, but I did make a start on the fountain here and going up into this side. It is a 2-tiered fountain and has little ducks floating around in it, so I'm looking forward to being able to stitch those soon too. I do adore this pattern, so, but then I adore all of my stitching. I wouldn't have started them if I didn't. So hopefully a little bit more on that again soon, but you know, whatever time I have, I will enjoy the stitch even if I don't get terribly far. So part of the reason that I may not have got as far as I might otherwise is because I get distracted by new things. And this week I have started 2 new projects, but they are just small in my defense. They're just small ones. So the first one I started is Scarecrow Jack Mini, and this is by, if you can see him, this is by Chrissy at Finally a Farm Girl. Chrissy has a wonderful Flosstube channel and I really enjoy watching her. I think I mentioned her last time. So Chrissy has started to release some patterns and has an Etsy shop, and this is one of her patterns. I'll insert a picture here because I don't have a cover sheet. My printer didn't have enough ink to print the cover sheet. So here's the pattern. This is Scarecrow Jack Mini. There is a pattern that's just called Scarecrow Jack, and it's a lovely fuller picture of autumn, but Chrissy sort of excerpted the Scarecrow himself, and I really just like this little mini, and of course it was an excuse to do a small. So I am stitching this on a 32 count Murano in Vintage Country Mocha, and I am using threads that approximate to the colours that are suggested by Chrissy. So I don't have the exact ones, but there's only little bits of thread required and a few colours. So I'm just choosing from my stash bits and pieces that I have. So I started with his face because I love it. I think it's got a lovely character. I can't wait to go to his hat. He's got a fabulous hat and I think he will just be adorable. So enjoying that. And then, totally enabled by Michelle, Mama Loves You GB, she posted on Instagram a pattern by Fiddlesticks AU, that's Fiddlesticks Australia, and it is the British stamp. And when I saw this, I knew that I wanted to stitch this because it is the Jubilee year, the Platinum Jubilee year. Now I know there are other Platinum Jubilee patterns out there, proper dedicated Platinum Jubilee patterns out there. I haven't seen any that really strike me. Sorry, I haven't seen any small ones that really strike me and that I really wanted to have. At the moment, I have seen a fabulous larger piece just published this week, I think, by Vivsters. You should Google that, have a look and see if you can, if you're interested in stitching a commemoration piece for the Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. Vivsters has a fabulous, fabulous design which is based on the coronation robe. Yeah, I can't do it justice to even begin to try to describe it to you, so just Google it and have a look yourselves. Anyway, I don't want to stitch a piece that big for the Jubilee, but when I saw this, I knew that I would stitch it because it also has a little sentimental significance to me. The stamp, the Queen's Head stamp, has a sentimental significance to me, and I thought this would be the perfect little stitch for me to do this year. Turn it into a little pillow and be able to keep it out all the time. Now, the sentimental reason that I have for stitching this is because my hubby and I have been together for a very long time. I was 16 when we started to go out together, and the first 6 years that we were together were spent actually mostly apart. He was in England studying and then working, and I was here in Northern Ireland, and I spent many's and many's a day putting a stamp on an envelope and sticking it in the postbox and sending it to him. And that was how we communicated in the good old days. Before text messages, before mobile phones, we had one phone call a fortnight and we had our letters that went back and forward. Now I am going to stitch mine in red, an orangey red colour, which is the colour of our first class stamps and has been for quite some time here. So perhaps this is a first class Australian stamp, maybe theirs are green. I don't know, if anyone knows you can tell me. I think it's a beautiful design. Sorry if I haven't shown you it close enough. There we go. And I'm going to stitch in orangey reds, as I said. So I'm really pleased with how it's shaping up. The paler colour in which the detail of the Queen herself is stitched, I'm using DMC 3705. And I did stitch it in full stitches, but then the outer red, this is 666 DMC, the outer red, there really wasn't enough contrast between the two. So I went back and I unpicked what I had started with the Queen detail, and I just did it as a half cross stitch. And I think that has made it much more obvious then in terms of the contrast between the two. So it is now a lot of kind of fill-in work and then this sort of wiggly stamp border on it. And I will probably try to add on at the bottom somehow, somewhere, the dates of the Queen's Jubilee, just so that it is a commemoration piece. But as I said, it also holds a little bit of sentimental significance for me too. So there you go, that was my second distraction this week. And another little small. Yeah, that is it in terms of actual stitches. This week I have a couple of little pieces of haul I can share with you. I'm delighted to have finally got my hands on Rejoice Evermore. This is the market release by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. I think I stalked every website going to see when this one would come back in stock. And although I did order mine in the end from 123 Stitch, I know that if you're here in the UK, it is currently available on Patchwork Rabbit, or certainly she had them earlier this week. But she wasn't, when I contacted them, she wasn't sure and wasn't hopeful about it coming in. And then I got a notification from 123 Stitch saying that theirs were back in stock. So I had to press the button. And of course, it was coming all the way from the US, so it couldn't come by itself. So I added this little Lizzie Kate Faith, Hope and Love chart, which I think is beautiful. And I added 2 Mill Hill bead kits. So you might recall I stitched one of these love charmed ornaments. It was the love one, like Valentine's one, it says love on it. And I really enjoyed stitching it, so I was very tempted by some of the others. There's a series of these sort of love gardening and love other things. And this one is love stitching. So I'm gonna have fun with that sometime. And then I just like this one, which is Autumn Harvest. So there you go. That is my little bit of haul. My other stitching this last couple of weeks has been bunting, 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 and more bunting. So let's talk bunting. Marie from Stitches and Diamonds asked if I would do a little tutorial on how to make bunting. And while I don't have great camera set up for that, I decided I would video a little how-to. So I'm going to insert a few minutes of video here to show you what I do when I'm making bunting. I hope you enjoy it. And if you're not interested in the bunting, skip ahead and don't forget about the giveaway. Hello everyone, here I am to talk to you today about bunting. And this is just going to be a little run through of a how-to rather than an actual sewing tutorial, but I have tried to break it down into steps that I will show you as I go along. I don't have a great camera angle for recording me at the sewing machine, and I'm not really confident enough to do that, but hopefully this will give you everything you need to know to make some bunting. This bunting will be double-sided bunting, and by that I mean that it's made from two pieces of fabric which you have stitched together, turned right side out into give you a triangle flag shape, and then you will add some kind of bunting tape across the top. So that is what I will be talking about, but along the way I hope to share with you some alternative suggestions and tips and tricks, and I hope not to make this too long and keep you for too long. So the first thing that you will need is a bunting template. Now that's just simply a triangular piece of card or plastic or whatever you have. I use old birthday cards. This one, obviously Lego Space birthday card. And I have different sizes for making different buntings. So at the moment for the school bunting that I'm making, I've been using this bigger template. To create your own template, the easiest thing to do is to draw a rectangle on a piece of card. So obviously the dimensions of your rectangle will determine the shape of your bunting flag. So you might have very long and skinny, tall and skinny bunting, or you might have slightly broader bunting. So the more square your rectangle, if that makes sense, the chubbier your little flags will be. So draw yourself a rectangle, find the center spot. You'll see that I marked it down there. And then you draw a line from the top corners of the rectangle down to the center spot, and that gives you your triangular shape. And then you cut that out of your card or your template plastic, and hey presto, you have got your bunting templates. This bunting template that I have is 8 inches tall and 6 inches wide, and I find that's a really nice, generous size without being too big and not too small. This one is obviously a little bit smaller and is fun for smaller decoration, and you can go even smaller again, like, well, I don't have the template, but to make bunting that's really itsy bitsy, and this is Charlotte's bunting, as you can see, and that's made from itsy bitsy triangles. So I can talk a little bit more about this and the finishing later on. But once you have your bunting template, what you then need to do is prepare your fabric. So I am going to adjust the camera angle so that hopefully you can look down at my sewing mat, and I will hope to be able to demonstrate or show to you all of the steps that you need to get your bunting ready. So preparing your fabric for the bunting is quite simple. Just make sure you have it nicely pressed. And I have made double fold binding, which is basically where the binding has two sides. Because you can, if you wish, just cut a single flag from the fabric, perhaps with pinking shears, just cut simple triangles and leave them unfinished. That is a very quick way and very satisfying way sometimes to make bunting. But for something that you want to be a bit more durable, this double fold method is a good way. So something like a Christmas decoration that you're going to bring out year after year, this is a nice way to make good durable bunting. So press your fabric and pin it together to keep it nice and stable. Take your bunting template and a pencil or a chalk marker or whatever it is. So on the red and the blue fabrics for this bunting, I had to use a chalk marker because the pencil lines didn't show. And mark out your triangle template. I usually mark down the diagonal sides and a little bit across the top here and here, which I hope I might be able to show you up close. Can you see where I've gone across a little bit? Just when it's under the sewing machine, it helps to see where you're going to stop. I just find that little mark a little bit easier than just stopping dead on the diagonal line itself. So that is how I mark out the bunting on the fabric. Now, as you might be able to see, I have my buntings drawn on top to tail. So I have one going this way and the next one goes this way. And I've left a decent gap in between so that I will have a good seam allowance when I separate them. This only works well if you have a non-directional fabric. So if you have a fabric with a nice design on it, let's say you've got the spaceman, he will be upside down on your bunting on every other flag if you do it like this. So the top and tail method of making bunting only works for non-directional or a solid fabric. If you do have a spaceman and you want him the right way up on your bunting, then you need to cut your fabric pieces individually and stitch them together that way. Okay, so, but this is a great method, and my advice would be just to choose a nice fabric that doesn't require that, and it's also a very economical use of your fabric. So you can see across this width of fabric, I have been able to get 6 full bunting flags on this occasion. So that's them all marked out. And the next thing to do is take them to the sewing machine and stitch along the pencil lines. So you're going to stitch on the lines that you've drawn. Okay. I'm going to try and hold this up a little bit closer for you to see, because I know that it's hard to see. So, can you see there? So you're going to start on one side, whichever side makes most comfortable sense to you for stitching. So I will go with this side for demonstration purposes. I would put the needle down in the top corner here, sew a few stitches and then reverse stitch just to secure it. So at the beginning and at the end, we want to sew a little reverse stitches just to secure it. You're going to stitch on the line all the way down to the point. Keep your needle in at the point and swivel your fabric, and then stitch on the line all the way back to the top corner up here, and then reverse stitch to secure again. So it's very simple. Reverse stitch at the beginning and end and swivel on the point. And then you will have a row of bunting. Oops, sorry for the crash. You will have a row of bunting flags on your piece of fabric. The next thing to do is to separate them. Now I am a quilter, so I have my mat and my ruler and my cutter. And I will just lay the 1/4 inch line of my ruler down on the stitch line. There we go. And I will trim like so. Go. Turn the flag around and repeat on the other side. Give that a good trim. And I will repeat that across the row till I have lots of bunting flags all cut out. Now, before we turn it through, we want to eliminate some of the bulk at the bottom point of the bunting, because this is very narrow down here and there's just not room to have all of this fabric on the inside of your bunting point. So taking a small pair of scissors, you're going to trim in a little bit closer to the stitch line, but be very careful not to cut through it, not to snip off your point. So I hope you can maybe see there. Sorry, the light, it's very hard to get the light right. So you can see there perhaps that I've trimmed in very close to the stitch line, but not through it. That has eliminated the bulk and should allow me to turn this point through much more easily. Turning through is a simple process, but you just want to be gentle just so that you don't break through the point or undo any of the stitching at the top. But if you've done your reverse stitch, that should be fairly well secured. I use a trusty crochet hook to poke out corners for pillows and bags and zipper pulls and all of that kind of thing. It's a cheap alternative to some of the specially designed turners that are out there. And as someone who crochets, there were plenty of crochet hooks lying around my house. So I use it to poke out. It's safer, I feel, than a pair of scissors, which sometimes people are happy to use, but it's just not as sharp. So it has less risk of pushing through. Now you can still push through with it, so you still want to be gentle. Turn your point out as best you can with this quite thick fabric. That's about as good as it's going to get for me, so I'm happy with that. And then I use my crochet hook just to bring it down the diagonal seam line, just to push that out a bit and try to finger press a little bit as I go. Just to take out any folds or pleats that might get caught and distort the shape of my bunting flag when I sew it. Sometimes you end up, if you can, I'm sorry, it's really hard to see. This is why I said I'm not good at these tutorials, but you could get a lot of fabric caught in there, so you want to make sure you're getting right out to the seam. And give it a quick finger press to hold that in place. And then you're ready to take it to your ironing board and press it properly. So at this stage, what you will have are bunting flags that are probably slightly different in height because you have a little bit extra fabric up here at the top and it's not going to be perfectly even on everyone. So we want now to trim our flags all to the same height. As I said earlier, my template is 8 inches high by 6 inches across, so I want my flags to be 8 inches high. So a little tip for making sure that you're trimming evenly so that your point is centered with the top center is to fold your flag in half, making your edges even, the diagonal edges even. Hold it at the top and just finger press in the center there, and that will give you a light finger crease, which then you can line up on one of the lines on your cutting mat if you have it. So you line up the center crease and you line up the point on the same line on your cutting mat, and then you know that either side of that is equal. And then I will go to 8 inches high, 8 inches high up the side, and put my ruler down and trim across neatly. And then I will have all of my flags the same height. So then you have red, white and blue flags that are all the same height. Okay, and as you can see for this bunting bonanza, I have lots and lots of flags to be working with, and my tape has just arrived this morning, so I will be able to put these all onto the string tape sometime this afternoon probably. Okay, so the next stage, when your flags are all trimmed to the same height, is you're going to start to lay them out and add whatever tape you're using across the top. Now for these flags, because they're for school, because they're for functional, they'll be put away and brought out and reused again, I'm just using a twill tape. I find that 1 inch tape or 1 inch ribbon is a good width that allows you to fold it in half, and you've still got a nice 1/2 inch piece of tape to work with and stitch down. 1 inch satin ribbon is also very nice, especially if you're going to make gift bunting, maybe for a baby shower or a birthday or Christmas gifts or decor in the house. You can see that this one has been bunting at some point because I have pressed a crease in it and it makes a very nice finish on your bunting tapes. You can also use crocheted lace if you like. Fold it over and stitch it on as well. You could use the bias binding that you can buy that's already made. It will work, the principle of attaching it will be exactly the same. My only concern about the bias binding tape is it's very stiff and therefore I don't feel like you get a good drape with it, but you can give it a go if you prefer. So those are a few suggestions for the tape. What we're going to do with these is you have your tape and its crease, and you're going to set the bunting flag in right up to the crease, pop the tape down so that it's folded over, and pin that in place so that you are effectively encasing the open top of your bunting flag in the tape. Sorry. You can, if you like, create a bunting flag and you would turn the top in and press that. Again, you'd have to make sure that they're all then the same height, but you can turn the top over and press it so that it's like this, okay? And once you have your nicely pressed top, then you can add a piece of ribbon, something more decorative, just on one side at the top. And that is what has happened with this little bunting that I made for Charlotte. So let me see if I can get all of that. I can't quite get it all in for you. Go, Charlotte's bunting. And what I did, I'll show you up close if I can, is I folded over and pressed the tops, and then I just pinned the lace to one side because it wasn't a double width of lace. And then I was able to just stitch that straight across. And in stitching that straight across, that closed up the top of the bunting flag as well. But that's just another suggestion. It's not what we're going to do here, but if you have a piece of trim or lace that you would prefer to use, then that is another suggestion. So as I said, for this, what we're going to do is pop our flags inside the tape, encase them in the tape effectively. So what you need to think about at this stage is how far apart do you want your flags to be? So sometimes, let's say for mantle decor, you might want them just maybe an inch apart. For the school hall, where they're going to be up very high, I will probably space them further apart, and it also makes my bunting go further. So there's a very practical element to that for me. But once you've decided, then you need to lay your flags out with your tape and keep your spacing even. So it's simply a matter then of pinning. Make sure that you keep the flag all the way up to the top of the tape fold so that it doesn't slip. And then when you stitch it together, then you'll have a really nice, firm, secure hold on that. So you can pin in the gaps too if you've got a bigger gap. And keep pinning. And if you're very lucky, you'll only have 8 or 10 flags on your piece of bunting, and you will be able to do this quite quickly. So I've got 4 inches between, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, another thing to remember at this stage is how much excess tape do you want to leave. So if it's something like a mantle, you might only want to leave 6 or 8 inches of tape. You might like to have a little bit just draped down the side of, as it's on your, you know, if it's on your mantle like this, you have a little bit down the side. Or you might want it to be able to be hidden away, so you might want quite a short piece. For school, for example, I'm actually going to leave a much longer length than this when I do this for real, because I'm not entirely sure of how they're putting it up and what kind of distances they've got. So I'm going to leave them some extra leeway. But you can decide for yourself, make sure you leave that amount over the end of your tape. So hopefully you can imagine what this might look like. Sorry, I can't get it very close up for you. But it is that simple. Okay, so next you are going to take it to the sewing machine. You're going to turn over the raw edge of your tape or your ribbon and fold that back up again, and perhaps pin that in place just to hold it while you're going to take it to stitch. And then what you're going to do is stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way along your tape. 1/8 of an inch will catch on both sides because you've folded this and put it into the center and it's on the fold, so it will catch both sides of your bunting flag and seal it in. Keep stitching your 1/8 of an inch all the way along your tape to finish your bunting string. And so this is big bunting, so it doesn't show you well, but it's the same deal that I did for Charlotte's little bunting. Here, just keep stitching 1/8 of an inch all the way along. Now for this one, because it was open top, we wanted to stitch it along the top, whereas for the one where we're encasing, we're stitching along the bottom of the flag piece here. And once you have that done, then your bunting is ready to go. I'm sorry I don't have it to show you just right in this clip, but hopefully in a minute or two when I flip back to future Sarah, you will see some finished bunting anyway. I really hope that I'm almost finished it by that stage. So yes, you will have the bunting. So I hope that those steps make sense. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to show you very well. I find it really awkward to get a good angle to work at and show you this kind of tutorial. Please do ask if you have any questions. And just in terms of us being cross stitchers, there are lots of creative ways that you can use cross stitch on your buntings as well, and other stitchy things too. You can see with this Charlotte that these are appliqued, like sketched appliqued, raw edge appliqued letters that I just bonded on and then stitched around for her. I have made Christmas bunting of this mini size, and I have cross-stitched letters that say Noel. So I have an N, O, E and L, 4 separate letters, and I cut them square off, frayed the edges, and then appliqued them on as well. You could see that in one of my Christmas videos where I will show some of my like a Christmas tour, Christmas decorations around the house. Or you could have the entire front facing of your flag will be a cross stitch whatever it is, design, initial, monogram, whatever you want it to be, and then back it with a pretty fabric to make your bunting flag. So there are lots of fun ways of using bunting. It makes great gifts, especially for newborns. It makes nice birthday banners, and we're all decorating our houses seasonally, and people seem to be keen to have lots of different options. So I'm sure that you can be very creative and create harvest or autumn or spring banners if that's your thing. So there are lots of options, and I hope that has helped. It's not difficult to make. I hope I haven't made it seem difficult, and I hope that you have been able to see the steps. I know that the light and the angle wasn't great, but I hope that if you have a go and you're successful, you'll let me know that you've had some fun with the bunting. And as I said, if you have any questions, just ask. So I'm just popping back to show you what is a rather, well, actually slightly underwhelming sight of 50 meters of red, white and blue bunting. There is no way to get a good picture of this all folded up. But there you go. So that's what has been keeping me busy this last week. And I'm going to try and show you just a little bit of it stretched out. I did make these further apart than I would for regular bunting. I would put my regular bunting closer together, but it's because these are going in such a large space in a large hall. And as you can see, there's no way for me to show you any more than this widths. I have 3 smaller strings of bunting to make, thankfully. They're very small, they're just over 1 meter each, to hang across doorways and our serving hatch at the kitchen. And then hopefully I'll be done with the bunting. It has been a pleasure to do it for school, but man, that is a lot of bunting. So I hope that the tutorial is helpful to you. And just as a final word on the options and alternatives that you might have, don't forget that your bunting doesn't have to be triangular in shape. It could be square, it could be semicircular, or whatever other shape you managed to come up with. I did make bunting from Christmas stocking shapes one year and Christmas mitten shapes one year. I don't have that bunting anymore, but it was scrappy. It was something I did out of class. But rectangular bunting looks very effective too, and would be great for cross-stitch pieces. So that's why I'm showing you this. A beautiful bunting which Charlotte received from my friend Judith as a gift for one of her birthdays. And you can see that it was trimmed along the bottom with some of that beautiful pom-pom trim. So there are creative ways of finishing your cross-stitch with bunting also. So, as I said, I hope that helped a little bit to understand the process of bunting making. So that was my couple of weeks stitching. In terms of plans, I think I'm just going to stitch whatever I feel like for the next few weeks. I have a lot more work on in the next few weeks, and I'm juggling time a little bit more, so I'm just going to enjoy stitching whatever takes my fancy of an evening. And that's quite a nice plan to have in itself. Now, Flossiversary giveaway. No Flossiversary is complete without something to share with the people who make it possible. So I have 2 gifts that I would like to share with 2 of you. Obviously it would be lovely to give you all a gift, but I have 2 chances for you to win today. The first is a copy of Emma Congdon's Cross Stitch for the Soul. If you've been with me for a long time, you will know that I did a little flip through of this book, and I absolutely adore the patterns in here. I've stitched one and I have plans to stitch more, and I think that you would really enjoy it. So this is a brand new copy of the book, and I will very happily send it to one of you, along with a piece of 28 count even weave. It's a DMC even weave in pale cream. I have used this even weave and I really like it. And the patterns in the book are based on a 14 count or 28 count. So this piece of even weave should fit most of, if not all of, the designs in the book. So you should be able to stitch one of the designs on this piece of even weave. So I would like one of you to be able to receive this. And if you would like to be entered into the draw for this book, use the word soul, S-O-U-L, soul. The second prize, second giveaway prize, is the other book that Emma Congdon has released, which is Cross Stitch for the Earth. This one I have not done a flip through of, but the designs in here are magnificent too. Look, be kind to all that live. Let's see. Live gently upon this earth. I mean, they're stunning. Really, really, really stunning. Just trying to make sure I don't show you charts. This one, what does she call this one? I don't know. Little ways to help the earth. So get the idea, and I'm sure you've seen it around on other Flosstube channels too. So this one will come with a piece of 28 count even weave as well. This time, this color is off-white, which is it's ecru. It's a little bit more creamy than the pale cream of the first one. You can see the difference. Again, you should be able to stitch some of the designs from the book. They're all based on 14 28 count fabrics. Some of these designs in this book are a little bit larger, so you might not get them all, but you'll have plenty to choose from and stitch on your piece of fabric. So if you would like this book, use the word earth, E-A-R-T-H. So that's 2 opportunities to win, soul and earth. Just leave them in the comments below. The usual rules for giveaways apply. Please don't mention any of the words that will attract the bots. Winning, giveaway, freebie, anything like that. Please be 18 or over so that I can ask for your postal address. I will post anywhere in the world, so please feel free to enter if you're an international viewer. And please like the video and be a subscriber. And good luck. So again, my lovely new friends, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your kindness and your patience in this year as I started my Flosstube journey. You have made this channel somewhere that I want to be, and judging by your comments, it's somewhere that you enjoy being as well. I know that Chris Cross Stitch always says he has the best viewers on Flosstube, but well, you and I know differently. And speaking of Chris, I should say a very happy Flossiversary to Chris too. It's his first year Flossiversary on May the 17th, so I'm just a little bit older than him in terms of floss tubing. So congratulations, Chris. I am quite sure that Chris will have a video on Tuesday the 17th, and that it will be yet another episode that none of us will want to miss. So congratulations, Chris, on your magnificent first year. My friends, thank you, and thank you again. I could not do this without you, and I would not want to. So my love to you all. And until next time, stay well and stitch happy.